So just trying to, you know, it's a private company trying to get paid by the federal government, and there's an exact science to it, and you gotta meet it.
Okay, I'm gonna call this meeting to order. It's 5:15 on April 8th. Record that all the members are present. And we have two visitors, David Sloan and David Wilkins. Okay, let's go to the approval of the minutes of last month's meeting. Have I had a chance to read it? Do I hear a motion on the minutes of last month?
I'll move that the minutes of the March meeting be approved as written.
Okay, any discussion or questions?
No, I wasn't here, so I
So Steve made the motion
don't
and
have an
John
opinion.
seconded it. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Okay, that is passed. Claims. Shall I entertain a motion on the claims report?
Anything you'd like to bring out, Nick?
I was just looking to see, the Morse Kubota of Warsaw, that's the lawnmower that we traded in, that you guys approved last month. Outside of that, pretty quiet month unless you guys have anything specific.
And the CHA is one we approved last month also.
Correct, yep.
Yeah.
For all their task orders they've been busy working on.
All right.
I move we accept the claims, especially the $23,966.37 for Accent Aviation Group, the $406.80 for Bellman Oil Company, and the $595 for Camp Software.
Any discussion on our questions?
Nope.
Hearing none, hear a second.
Second.
Second by Steve. All right, all in favor of the motion signify by aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
And the one thing I will bring up with that, we have used Bellman Oil for several years as our main oil supplier for the FBO. That's the fuel, or the oil that we sell to our customers. They let us know last month there is some oil that we need that they can no longer supply for us. So we are looking for another solution right now. We've already got a couple in place. I'd like to keep that local, but not many people in Kosciuszko County are selling that oil. We may have to go to a third-party vendor and have that shipped in. So we're looking into it. I just wanted you guys to know there might be an update on that next month.
What oil can they no longer furnish?
A lot of the Phillips oil, the cross country, it's the most popular one we sell, the XC 2050. So there's a couple of them in there that they're just not able to get anymore, and or don't want to. Maybe they don't sell enough of it, so it's not worth them stocking it.
Phillips probably
Yeah.
cut them off because they were too low volume.
I don't know. Yeah, so we're working on that. Oh,
Okay.
and then those need to be signed as well. while we're chatting.
Approximately how much oil do we resell?
I would say probably 20 or 30 cases a year. It really comes and goes. We used to sell more of it, but a lot of people just order it in bulk
Order their own.
online.
That's
It's-
what I was wondering, but
we keep it around for guys that come in, fuel up, they get it topped off on gas, check their oil, and they're a quarter too low. Airplane engines just burn a little oil. That's how they're built. And so those are who we sell most to. The other time is when somebody realizes, oh, I'm supposed to do an oil change in 3 hours and I've got a trip next week. I need to get it done now. They just go ahead and come over and buy a case from us. So it's not we are not a huge
no, I
mover.
didn't think so. I'm just kind of curious.
Yep.
Okay, I was a little out of turn, I guess, but I already recognized David and Wilkinson, David Sloan. So we're ready for the engineer's report.
Wonderful. I'll try to keep it brief. Two big ones, obviously the AEP project, and then 927 and taxiway Bravo. For the AEP project, obviously you guys have seen the construction is ongoing. There is something of note. So the FAA grant period for this project is June. And what that means is we need to be closed out and money spent by the end of May to make this happen. So you'll see the total, I'll bring up an Excel sheet here in just a second, but the total value of the project is over 7 million. At this point, we're spent up to about 2.4 million. That means at the next board meeting, we're gonna have some pretty hefty invoices that are basically gonna be all of the invoices from Kent Power, which is the construction group. With that said, we do have some invoices for both CHA and AEP this month. It's been a back and forth with AEP. I think you guys are aware of this. The FAA has a certain way of doing things. They will spend the money, but they need to back up what they're spending their money on. AEP being a private company, they do things their way, and so adjusting to the federal way has been a challenge. But nonetheless, we got there. And so finally today, we all got on the same page with how we need to invoice the FAA, and that led to the last 3 months, March, February, and January invoices all coming in at the same time. So I have 5 motions to make, 2 invoices for CHA and 3 for AEP. And so I think it's really up to the board on how you guys want me to share this information. What I can do is take you through the Excel sheets on what they're spending their money on. Or I could just take you through the invoices, which are pretty bare bones, as you can see on the screen here. Essentially, the way that they do it is they send you a total amount due for that month, and they provide you with a short description of what the money is for. And then what the FAA needs them to do is basically provide that backup. So what that backup looks like is all of the line items that they're putting that money towards. And so you can see internal labor, materials, external labor, mobilization, access roads, a lot of the parts and pieces, sales tax, transportation loading, incentives, fringes. And so all of those are in here. The challenge has been getting these columns to line up. And so what is the amount previously invoiced compared to the amount this invoice and the total amount invoiced? So we finally got on the same page, and to date, as you can see here at the bottom, we are spent 2.4 million, and that includes the original 450,000 that was invoiced back in 2022. But you can see we're only 2.4 invoiced on 7.6 million. So there's a good chunk of money coming during the next board meeting for us to approve. Is there any questions on that?
Basically, that's just a schedule of values, isn't it?
Pretty much.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, pretty much. So with that said, I have 5 motions. I cannot make them at the same time. So it'll be 5 separate motions for 5 separate invoices. The first 2 are CHA. So I need a motion for Dan's signature on CHA invoice 58412.002, number 18, in the amount of $15,047.99, and that local share is $752.40.
Okay, do I hear a motion on that?
So moved.
Steve Smiley, any questions?
One
Second.
Second.
John, second. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you. And then the second motion for board approval on Dan's signature on CHA invoice 58412.002, number 19, in the amount of $3,421.58, and that local share is $171.08.
I make that motion to approve, invoice 58412.002-19 for $171.08.
that's the local.
Local share.
Total's $3,421.
Oh, $3,421.58, yeah.
Yes.
Second.
All right, John, second. Gene, any questions? All in favor, signify by aye.
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 Okay,
Excellent, so that's CHA. The next 3 are AEP. So a motion for board approval and Dan's signature on AEP invoice 120, and the last 3 being 142, in the amount of $200,003.872.28, and that local share is $10,193.61. Now, we've done a good job of reminding, but Nick, just a little bit of a reminder, this is one of the ones that the county is helping out on.
Yep.
And I assume, Barbara, before we approve these, you have reviewed them all?
Yes, in great detail.
That,
Okay,
That's
I
what's
just wanted
been, that's what's been taking so long to go through all of these and get these to you
I
guys.
assume you did, but I just want to make that a public.
Spent what,
Right.
15 or 16 hours the last couple days working on these with
Yeah.
AEP?
Minimum trying to get it to this point. I would have really liked to have had 1 invoice, but I said, I can't bother with this anymore. Let's just do the 3 and move on.
Okay. I move we approve invoice 120-215-40142 from AEP for the amount of $203,872.28.
I'll second that.
Any questions? All right, all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next.
Excellent. Number 4, a motion for board approval on Dan's signature on AEP invoice 385, last 3199, in the amount of $35,958.35, and that local share is $17.97.92.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
Gene, second. Questions? All in favor, signify by aye.
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 Okay,
Last one for this, motion for board approval on Dan's signature on AEP invoice 385, last 3648, in the amount of $150,522.15, and that is a local share of $7,526.11.
So moved.
I second that.
any questions on this one?
Nope.
All right, all in favor, signify by aye.
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 Okay,
Excellent, moving on to taxiway B, we are working towards 75% design, that has been submitted to Nick. We anticipate the completion this month, and the projected anticipated to be complete prior to June. We're expecting bids in hand mid-May to make the FAA grant deadline in June. And similar to 927, I'm going to ask both. We need to make a motion. We're probably going to put these out to bid prior to the next board meeting. We're hoping we can get the bids out for taxiway B prior to the next board meeting in May. It may be that it extends a little bit further, but nonetheless, I did want to make a motion for board approval to advertise and commence the public bidding phase for taxiway Bravo.
Hey, didn't I see an advertisement already in the paper for a project?
Wasn't that for 927?
927,
That was for 927.
yeah,
Yep.
Yep.
yeah.
Okay. All right,
This one's for Bravo.
okay. All right, so a motion for approval to advertise, correct?
For Bravo, yep.
Do I hear a motion?
That is correct.
I make that motion.
Okay. Gene is making a motion to approve to advertise for bids for taxiway Bravo rehabilitation. Do I hear a second?
Yep, second.
All right. All right, any questions on that at this point?
Just one, is this for task order number 11, or is this for something different?
For task order number 7.
7.
Okay, I got it.
Is it on the back of your sheet?
Yeah, got it.
Okay. Yeah, what he's asking for here is not written down on that synopsis.
Yeah, it was, it looks like Ron G put it under task order 11. I just moved it up to task order number 7. So I'll make that change and get that to Linda for the minutes.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor of motion to advertise for bids for taxiway Bravo? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, passed. All right, now,
Excellent. And again, we may not have that out prior to the May board meeting, but we wanted to preemptively get this motion in there in case we can get the review done and get it out to bid sooner. With that, we do have some work completed in the month of February. So I'd like to make a motion for board approval and Dan's signature on CHA invoice 58412.7's fifth invoice in the amount of $22,385.70. And that's a local share of $1,119.28.
So moved.
okay, any questions on this
And
one?
second.
All right, Gene second. All in favor of this motion, signify by aye.
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 Okay,
Right, and then the last one, 927, we do have that out. So that anticipated project, we're looking for a bid opening late April. And then the construction scheduled to anticipated for early fall. So with that, and getting the 90% design submitted to Nick, I'd like to make a motion for board approval and Dan's signature on invoice 58412.11. This is the third invoice in the amount of $28,333.20, and that's all local share.
So move.
Steve made the motion. Questions?
That's all just for design work, right?
That is correct.
Correct.
We don't get any reimbursement on that?
This is the one we're doing locally, the resurface of 927.
Okay.
Thank you, county, for the help with that one.
Absolutely. A second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by aye.
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 All right, unanimous. All right, now, Bob, you've got on the sheet here, motion for approval to advertise.
That was in the wrong
That's
spot.
already been done.
Correct.
Yeah, that was supposed to go under task 11. I made that movement,
I'll make sure you get the
Here.
right one, Dan.
Okay,
here on the screen, and we'll get that in the minutes.
all right. The, I have a question back up on the power line thing. Have they,
Yeah.
what's the current, I guess, energizing date?
So that was scheduled for March 27th. That has moved. Mary, I wasn't on the last call, but they provided a new date for theirs. The energizing for the power lines.
Not that I heard of, but I should be just on for the first lead, so you don't cover everything that's on
Yeah. Dan, I will get that information for you. And we'll get that in the minutes.
For some reason, April 18th is sticking in my head as when they were hoping to have it re-energized. But I don't remember where I heard that. I could be wrong on that, but they're hoping in the next couple weeks to have that up.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Ashley. She's the PM for AEP to get that information for you. I'll do that right now. Hopefully she'll respond to me before we end the call.
Okay. And then I see you've got here that they're calling for demobilization end of May. Surely they're going to
May
do
30th,
that
yeah.
sooner than that.
So they'll be substantially demobilized. There is some pending work after that date that will happen through, I think, September is what they said. But all of that will be preliminarily estimated and included in the final invoice for May 30th.
Okay.
What I
So
understand.
they don't do that.
Oh.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say, what I understand, after May 30th, the work that is done is, they have to basically go back and make sure that the connections the torques are staying correct, there's warranty work that has to be done. The construction itself will be done, it's just checking to make sure everything is staying at what it's supposed to be at, is the way I understand it.
So they have to invoice us, final invoice, prior to May 30th.
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct, yeah. Either that or they don't get paid.
And they fully understand that?
They fully understand that, yeah. That's been a big topic of all of the invoice challenge up to this point.
What's the plan in regards to redoing the GPS 27 and the ILS 27? Obviously, the ILS 27 is non-functional, but
GPS will be back up and running as soon as the NOTAM is pulled
but it
down.
wouldn't be any change to it? The slope's gonna stay the same and,
Yep. As far, I'm unaware of any changes to the GPS approach. Are you aware of some, Robert?
I am not.
Once 100 East is relocated, the minimums for all of our approaches on 927 will change. But until 100 East moves,
okay.
we can't do anything else.
The threshold won't move with this line?
Nope. This was step one.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anything else for Robert?
I
That's it.
don't have anything else.
Okay. Well, real quick,
Gentlemen?
No.
Okay.
real quick, while we're still talking about engineers, I was looking at it and I had Robert confirm it for me. We actually, our 5-year contract with them ended at the end of last year. So
Already?
because of all these projects, they were all before 2025. You know, they're still operating underneath those task orders in that contract, but I think it would be wise the board has to make this decision. I would recommend we extend this contract for 1 year, through the end of this year. Let me figure out if we can only do 1-year extensions, I think with the progress that we're seeing and the projects we have currently in the pipeline, it would not, I would support another 5 years at least. If the board would choose to do a 1-year extension at a time, we can do that as well. That's just something we would have to do every January to continue that contract on.
Does anybody have any thoughts about that?
I'd be for doing that. Yep.
So
Which
I think
part?
we should,
1 year?
We're
or 5
extending
years?
it on for now, I mean, until we get this done. Although, they're doing a great job, but I don't know what all, don't you have to go out, don't we have to go out for bids when we?
that's what we
Yeah.
can do, I know we can do a 1-year extension this year.
Right.
That'll get us through the end of this year, and that will let me research, do we have to go out for selection again? I don't believe we do, but I
Okay.
need to make sure that we're following all of the rules
Right.
on that.
And that's the
Um,
reason why I say.
Let's do a
the
1 year.
1 year.
Yep,
1 year.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
okay.
All right.
So I need
We
a
need to
board,
put that in a motion?
yep.
All right, who wants to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, John's gonna make the
However,
motion
somebody wants to write
extend.
it.
I'll do the second.
And Robert, you'll get us a extension contract, we can get back to you for signatures.
Yes, sir.
All right, call for a vote on extending CHA's contract for a year. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All right, there you go.
Perfect. And other than that, as you guys can see, March was a pretty quiet month on fuel
noticed.
usage. We're about flat where we were last year. Unless you guys have any specific questions on fuel usage or the income statement, I don't have a whole lot to bring to the board this month.
There's a couple of things, and this is a little out of the ordinary or whatever, but since Bob's still on the line, I wanted to ask if either of these gentlemen had a question for Bob. You were,
Yeah, I didn't hear you say that the lowering the lines does not affect the minimum specs or whatever it is.
Correct. So the lowering the power lines, they are an obstacle when you're taking off to the east. So any aircraft taking off to the east, they're an obstacle for that. Robert, it's not classified as an obstruction for 2.7, is it?
I couldn't hear the question, I'm sorry.
No, you're
It
fine.
was
So
cutting out.
two-
You guys are perfect, but.
So lowering the power lines changes nothing for the approach on 2.7, it only changes the departure for 0.9, correct?
Well, there was a controlling obstacle out there, and if we wanted to move the threshold or make any future improvements to the runway,
Correct.
those power lines would have been an obstruction to any future endeavor that the airport had. And so the purpose of lowering the lines is first step in, one, we can get better approaches. Two, if we choose to extend, improve, reclaim the displaced threshold for 2.7, those power lines will no longer be an issue.
Yep.
does that answer your question, Dave?
Yeah, so nothing's gonna happen unless the road changes, right?
Correct. And that study is being, well, the first part of that study is being finished right now with the runway safety area study that we're going through. Then, and that's basically, the RSAD was a mandate the FAA put out, all airports must study the runway safety areas on all runways to make sure that we are designed to standard. That road is in the runway safety area for 927, so it will need to be relocated. We're hoping still that we can do a tunnel for that. But the RSAD was the first project. Next will be the environmental, and I think we have the environmental. Robert, off the top of my head, I want to say 27 or 28 is when we have that programmed. Maybe even 29
That's correct.
for
We're
in our
28
CIP.
right now.
Yeah. So that's, that will be the environmental impact study is going to be the study that is done. What are the options to move 100 East? And so is that a tunnel? Is that a relocation of the road? I don't believe a loop will be something we can do. the loop, we would have to go so far to the east, we'd be within probably 100 feet of 175 east at that point. So it's probably going to be tunneling the road, rerouting that traffic, or creating another, you know, possibly improving 300, 175, and then building another access road that would connect into 250 or something like that. I'm not sure, but that's what that study in 28 would provide, is what are those alternates for that.
So,
How much of 27 is usable now?
On a day like today, when it's nice weather out, we have about 5,000 feet of runway for landing. We have 6,000 feet for takeoff. On bad days, we have 4,100 feet. So because the road and the power lines are there, we lose 1,000 feet of the runway in a displaced, what's called a displaced threshold, which means we can use that for takeoff but not for landing. And then anytime we fly an instrument approach, we lose an additional 900 feet.
so a lot of hoops to jump through.
Yeah.
We basically just got past first base.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Those are good questions.
The AEP 7.6 million, how much of that is being paid by the federal?
That is a 95-5, so 90% federal, 5% state, 5% local. Yep. Other than that, I don't have much else for the board tonight. Like I said, I was busy in March.
Yes, you have a new member. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sounds like all healthy.
Yep.
Good, good. I did have a question for you in regards to something we talked about last month.
Okay.
It was a potential hangar purchase.
Yes.
Where do we stand on that?
I just received the opinion from one attorney maybe an hour ago, and I'm waiting for the city, that we actually had to reach out for special counsel on this. It's a personal property transaction. It's not a real estate purchase because we already own the ground. And so we were trying to make sure we were dotting our i's and crossing our t's. I don't have the final answer on that yet, but I will
Okay.
hopefully have that done maybe even later this week, because I do have the approval to purchase that pending the city attorney signs that off. So we're still working on that. The other thing, I know everybody's been chomping at the bit for thank you for bringing that up. It made me think of the fuel farm.
Yeah.
We got the quote back and the price went up 225% from where it was in August. Same contractor. So I called 4 or 5 other contractors
That's-
today, and we are
that's
trying to
bogus.
get some new quotes, because that's just ridiculous. We
Yeah.
went, I don't want to say the numbers publicly because we're going through the quoting process right now,
Right.
but it went up way more than it should have. Just the price of the tank itself went up that much, and so
Steel prices haven't gone up that much.
not that much. We were expecting anywhere from a 10 to 20% increase
That
from
would've
last
been
fall.
reasonable.
Was well prepared, even 25 or 30 with some of the tariffs and things going on right now with steel. We were expecting that, but not, I mean, the price went up, like I said, it was more than double, almost triple.
Yeah.
So we are working on that.
Business.
Hopefully we will have a solution for the May board meeting.
Okay. Can't think of anything else. Do you guys have any other questions?
Nope.
Okay. I don't have anything. Our next meeting,
Is May 13th.
May 13th. I think I'll be here. Okay. Anybody else be absent that date?
Nope, I'll be here.
I should be here.
Okay.
Yeah, it
I'm
should
not
be
sure
okay.
yet if if I will or won't be. It's
Okay.
borderline. I know I'll be gone the first 9 or 10 days in May.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, if there are no other questions or comments from the board or from the audience, then this meeting's adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya, have a good time on vacation, Dan.
Thank you, Bob.
See ya.
I probably missed an official step there, didn't I?